Ah. So we're here with Kurt from Kurt's Custom Checkering, and we're looking at
Should have panned them the other way.
what?
You should have panned them the other way, then the words won't be upside down. Well, probably not close enough anyway.
Oh, shh. So what do we got here, Kurt?
My cartridge collection, or most of it, can't locate the shotgun shell collection. I've got everything 6mm to 4 gauge. And don't know where I stored it. I haven't dug these out for a while either. Been busy checkering, but I find it very relaxing. And of course, all these cartridges have their own history. That's the appeal for me. I can't afford to collect all those guns. That'd be nice if I had one for each of these cartridges. And I even have a few pin fires. A 9mm pin fire. I've got a shotgun pin fire shell someplace too.
So you have quite a diversity of cartridges here, huh?
Yeah.
So have you zeroed in on any particular type of cartridge? Military cartridges, British sporting cartridges, American? What do you like most?
Well, I kind of everything. Like I said, they all have their own history. So there's the military history of why and how they were designed and the original purpose, and of course all the old British, especially the big bores. Some of them might detect little patch of yellow on there. That's some sticky tack, I think they call that. Like almost like clay, but very sticky. And normally I have this on a cartridge display board, and I put a little dab in the back and set it on the shelf and press it to the back of the board, and they don't rattle off when someone slams the door in the house. They stand very nicely on their little shelves. But I'm presently building a bigger shelf to accommodate a bit more.
And you got some pistol cartridges here.
Yeah, basically the bottom row here is all, these are all pistol cartridges, that whole bottom row.
So this is something that's a lot more affordable to collect for a firearms enthusiast, I presume.
Oh yeah, it's, most of them you can pick up for 2 bits, 50 cents, maybe $1, some $2, something. Some of the really rare ones, you might have to spend $100 for a cartridge. Like for instance the 600 Nitro Express, that's kind of the going rate for one of those.
What do those cost?
Yeah, you can pay up to $100 for one.
Oh, wow, yeah.
And this one, I'm not even sure what the price would go for that. It'd be more than that. That's one of the most rare ones. As I understand, there were only 2 rifles ever built for that.
7150 Winchester. Is that like a shotgun brass, neck down, or what is that?
Yep, a 12 gauge shotgun brass, neck down to 70 caliber. Actually, it's 705 caliber. And but Winchester experimented a little bit with that, with the idea they had their lever action shotgun, and I forget what model that is again, 1890 something. But they thought, well, you know, why don't we make a rifle cartridge out of that? So they put a rifle barrel on there, necked the 12 gauge down to 70 caliber, and like I say, I think they only did 2 rifles as I heard, but and then they ran off a couple thousand rounds of ammo for it to try it and test it and test the market. So that's one of the more rare ones, I believe.
I've never seen one before. I don't think they sell the bulk pack at Wally World, do they?
Oh no.
No?
No, that's the only one I've ever seen.
Yeah, the 600 Nitro, that's kind of a classic. That's been around for a long time, hasn't it?
Yes, it has. It's the early part of the 20th century they came out with the, of course they were using the big bores for a long time, but with black powder, for instance a 50 caliber black powder rifle, something on this order would be, well there it is I guess, but a deer size game. Because black powder doesn't quite give it the oomph. As soon as they came out with smokeless powder, they discovered that you could take a it's the equivalent of a 5140 Sharps. The British made one almost identical. The rim would be thinner on the British cartridge. That would be a 500 Nitro Express.
So that's a similar
would-
case to the 500 Nitro.
Almost identical, except say the rim thickness would be the only real difference. But as a black powder cartridge, it was considered adequate for maybe up to elk or moose, but that would be pushing the limit. Once you fill it with nitro cellulose powder, or as the British did, cordite, all of a sudden you're up to over the 6,000 foot-pounds of energy, and it's an elephant cartridge now.
So I presume one of the appeals to cartridge collecting is that you get to learn all the different dynamics of cartridge evolution and the application of different designs in cartridges and historical stuff and all kinds of stuff, huh?
Right, and ballistics, and the trends of the time. Like over here, we see that it mixed in with all these 45s. There's a bunch of old 43 Egyptian, and we got a 43 Rendell, and we got a Spanish 11.5 57 rim Spanish Reformado.
That's kind of the early
caliber.
generation military cartridges, right?
Right.
So what's the story there? Why so big?
Well, originally, of course, the black powder days again, when it was muzzle loaders, your average military rifle would be something like 58 caliber. Well, interestingly enough, actually, during the American Revolution, your average British rifle was 75 caliber, and 72, 70, right in that area, most of the militaries had. But with improved black powder, they realized they could go down a little bit in the size of the bullet to get the right energy, so they went down to like 58 caliber. And during the American Civil War, that was the standard rifle issued in Zouaves or Springfields.
So it's kind of a conversion from the musket.
It's an evolution in the technology and then the attitudes of people trying to catch up with that.
Yeah, the brass is sometimes slow to learn from
Right.
the battlefield experiences.
If you were raised as a military man shooting a 58 caliber muzzleloader, it'd be pretty hard to convince you that all of a sudden a 45-70 is going to be adequate.
And all the way back down to 5.56 millimeter down here, huh?
Yeah, the evolution just goes on to smaller and faster. Of course, the energy that a bullet strikes with, whether it's for hunting or for war, is the mass times velocity squared. So
Can make up for a lot of that with just some speed.
when you had a speed limit on black powder of maybe 1,000 to 1,200 feet per second, that'd be top end. That's fast as you can make anything go into black powder. Why the only way you get more power is to get a heavier bullet in the first place. That's where the big calibers. And once they discovered the smokeless powders, it took a little while to realize that you don't need that big a caliber.
Not for the human critter. They're kind of a delicate animal, aren't they?
Interesting. Here's the first machine gun ever built, and one of the very first military that uses smokeless powder, the French 850 rimmed Labelle, and it was a bolt action rifle for the troops, and they also made belted machine guns that fired this round. Of course, 8 millimeter, it's about 32 caliber, But that was in the smokeless era, so they were going down in caliber already. And from there, of course, America came out with the 30-40 Krag, and then the 30-06, and then the 308, a little more compact all the time, and with the better powder, the 308 can do just about what a 30-06 can do, and then finally made the big giant leap down to 223.
Yeah. Still some debate there over the.
Yeah.
Yep. Some guys still like that 7.62.
And part of that, the debate goes to what's the intent. They kind of realize that you're more effective in a war if you can wound a soldier than if you kill him. If you kill a soldier, you've taken out one of the enemy. If you wound him, you take out about 3 of them, because 2 guys got to carry him back to the medics. And also the importance of firepower, just to throw down a lot of lead that prevents the enemy from shooting at you. So if you got something small
Suppressive
caliber,
fire, yeah.
the troops can carry a lot of ammo, And when they get attacked, just pour it on. You're not really expecting to hit a lot, but it'll keep their heads down.
Yeah, change in tactics and everything too.
So
Yeah.
it'll change tactics. I mean, that accounts for a lot of the changes here.
So you got some big ones here on the end. These British safari type cartridges. What do we got going on over here?
Oh, somewhere. Here's the old 405 Winchester. Actually, that's one Teddy Roosevelt liked to use for lion in Africa.
Oh, really?
And a 95 Winchester.
Oh, yep.
And a 4082, 4090 Winchester, 4065, 401 self-loading, semi-automatic rifle. And here's a real hellbender, a 378 Weatherby Magnum. They thought the 375 Weatherby, which is more powerful than the 375 Holland and Holland, wasn't good enough, so they went another step before, and you can see the size of the case, the diameter of it.
Yeah.
They took the 460 case, necked that onto 378 to get some maximum
That's
speed
a hot one there, yeah.
out of a big 300 grain 375 bullet.
And the old classic Holland and Holland Magnum did the job plenty good for most safari type applications, even, right?
Oh yeah.
So, can you explain some of the penetration issues with velocity when you're talking about some of these safari cartridges on large game? They say that sometimes too much velocity actually is counterproductive for adequate penetration.
Right. Too fast, a bullet tends to just explode on impact, or crater, they would call it for a time, but it's a hydrostatic shock. And sometimes a bullet at really high speed can actually just spend itself within the first 2 inches in the flesh of an animal and not penetrate deep enough on a big animal into the vitals.
Or penetrate erratically and kind of ricochet veer off course more easily, right?
Right.
You kind of have found an optimum speed for like large dangerous game.
Yeah, they kind of, a lot of the experts in Africa shooting elephant, Cape buffalo, those kind of things, kind of generally conceded to or agreed that you don't need to go much over 2,400, 2,500 feet per second. Over that, you're going to start having problems with a little instability of the bullet flight, first of all, but also once it hits its penetration. If it's going a little slower, it'll tend to penetrate more in a straight line and not be deflected when it does hit the first bone.
So some of these cartridges like this 460 Weatherby Mag, incredible power on paper,
Right.
and incredible knockdown energy sometimes, but sometimes the penetration experience has been like erratic due to ricochet. A little bit too much velocity on some of these cartridges.
But a lot of the other ones do that are up in that velocity. The 458 really had a kind of a miserable reputation for a long time on erratic performance. And a lot of the people in the know who were really hunting big game around the world, they went back to the old British 416 Rigby, which they discovered was just one of the very best around for big game. That's
Nice balanced cartridge, huh?
if you need a bolt action rifle for a dependable, consistent performance, it's just the right balance of speed and
Rimless, yeah.
yeah. So that was their bolt action. And then if you were going to go do the double rifle route, of course, it was the 470 was the real go-to. 470 Nitro Express. This was by far the most popular double rifle round in Africa, probably still is today.
When you're talking double rifles, that's used for your big 5 type stuff, right? Your
It's
elephants.
a dangerous
and,
game stopping rifle.
Yep.
And the idea, of course, with a lot of people wonder, why would you take a double barrel rifle, only 2 shots instead of 5 in a magazine or 4? It's the reliability of that. Basically, you have 2 rifles. They're single shot. They got 2 firing pins, 2 triggers, 2 barrels. Something goes wrong with one, it's not likely that they're both going to fail at the same time. With the bolt action or any single barrel gun with only 1 trigger, 1 firing pin, anything that glitch or breakage that occurs in the middle of a hunt can cost you your life. So that's why the double rifle was just, still is today, for the professional big game hunter who goes along with the hunter, and he's there to ensure the man survives the hunt when he gets a wounded lion or Cape buffalo coming out. And of course, by nature, the double rifles had to become so expensive because after you build basically 2 complete rifle barrels and then you had to mate them, weld them, and then they had to be regulated for a certain load. And that took a lot of time, and somebody had to sit there and shoot the guns, and then unsolder and resolder the barrels until they shot to the same point of aim. So there's quite a bit of natural work involved, a little more expensive in the building of it. So it was already outclassed for the average man. It was a rich man's rifle. So being it was a rich man's rifle anyway, the gun makers who were building them decided, well, the rich man likes to have a nice gun too. So a lot of times those are made with the very finest woods and engraved metal. And
Beautiful pieces of art on top of it.
they're works of art for the most part.
So let's try some questions and answers type stuff, just off the cuff here, unscripted, of course.